All right, good morning. It's Monday, May 16, 2016, and this is our support call for our Paragon Living Institute Library card holders. And welcome everybody to the call. You can see that you've landed on paulaenglish.com. And I invite you all to bookmark this page because for right now, this is how you are going to get into our Paragon Living Institute Library. We're going to visit our library here in a minute and talk specifically today about recruiting. In the business of direct sales and network marketing, as much as most of you probably were attracted to the business because of the products and the belief that not only are they making your life, your family a better place, healthy place, you also have the opportunity to have that positive impact in the world around you. And I know most of you are very passionate about having that positive impact. And so your company and your products give you that leverage, that ability to have something. Because good grief, can you imagine if you had to invent the stuff and then make it and then ship it and package it and all that stuff? You're in a pretty good situation to be able to earn commissions on the products you sell and not have to do any of that other work. So it's pretty cool. And the cooler part is you have the opportunity to build a network of partners who want to do the same thing and earn money on their efforts. As a salesperson myself, I was in direct sales for many years before I was introduced to the concept of multi-level marketing. And the idea, I was independent, loved the idea of marketing someone else's product, getting paid a commission, was my own business, and yet I didn't have to invent it. However, when I was introduced to the idea of network marketing, the multi-level marketing part, truly it was the most ingenious thing I'd ever seen in all my life. Because I knew as a sales rep what I could earn on my own efforts. The idea that I could actually earn on the efforts of someone else and work together in a non-competitive environment was like winning the lottery. I'd never seen anything so beautiful in my life as those circles on the wall. And yet, recruiting is often the Achilles heel, if you will, of many people in network marketing. Either they're the dreaded networker who tries to recruit everyone and thereby isolates themselves, has no friends, family, neighbors left to talk to, nowhere to go on Christmas Day for dinner, and they don't know why they're not making money. Or you have the other extreme often of people who don't talk about the business at all because of other issues that they feel they're not capable or can't train someone or they haven't been successful themselves so they don't feel confident to talk about it, or maybe they just never find the right people. So the art of building a team and being successful in recruiting is not just talk to everyone and see who sticks. I believe it's definitely more of a skill set. It requires strategy and a solid plan so that you don't waste resources or lose your friends or get discouraged. So what I'd like to do is to start by asking you a few questions, and I'd like you to write down your answers. Because again, the idea is to stimulate your thinking so you can get more out of your library card and the tools that are available, and also help you to focus, to get clear. And our first question, when you think about recruiting, so you have this vision of whatever you're going to do and the vision of building this team, what is your favorite part? What gets you the most excited as you cast that vision and you say, gosh, I see the potential, of building a team, what's your favorite part? Well, take a minute. I'd like you just to write that down. Think about what gets you excited when you think about recruiting and building a team. And I can imagine that you sit there and you cast the vision out, whether it's 3 people or 30 people or 30,000 people. There's got to be something that triggers that enthusiasm. All right. Question number 2. What's the opposite? When you think about recruiting, when you imagine yourself talking to people, building the team, keeping people in, doing what it takes, what's your fear? What's the little green monster or the spook under the bed? What are you afraid of? All right, number 3. Now, this is a more technical, but it's important. If you have it, you know it, and if you don't have it, that you know it. Let's imagine you're doing your recruiting activities, everything's working, you're getting the new people, they say yes. What are the first steps? So 1, 2, 3, what are the first steps you take in working with a new person who has said yes? And you don't need to write out 3 paragraphs. Just if you were to create an activity series, and hopefully you all have one, but if you don't, we're going to work on that. But the first step, so I just now looked at you and smiled and said, yes, I'd like to be your partner. What are you going to do with me? And if you don't have a series or don't know, put a question mark, so you know we need to work on that. And the last question is, as you have experience, most of you have been around a while, and you've talked to someone somewhere along the line about the business. So you've had at least one interview, conversation somewhere in your career, and some of you maybe lots of times. For the people who have said no, that did not do it, that maybe you thought, oh, they'd be so good, or I really want that person, or there was some hope, you thought, yes, maybe they'll do it. What do you believe was the obstacle? When someone says no, what is their obstacle? And again, you may or may not know for sure. You may be just imagining. Or maybe they told you, I just don't have enough time. I just don't have enough money. I really don't want to be in sales. My husband says no. My wife says no. What is the obstacle? How's everybody doing? Did you get your answers written down? Yes. So part of the thinking and asking these specific questions is we want to start with the positive. We want to look at that core enthusiasm, because I believe that each of you said yes somewhere along the line. And even if it was simply because you loved the product, I know you're all smart enough that you saw the compensation plan. You too saw those circles on the wall. And even if it was just for a minute, you imagined what it would feel like to actually have a business that was building and developing and growing with a team and an organization. So that feeling, that emotion, I really want you to spend some time there. Bring it up as often as necessary, because that emotion that you felt initially, that belief that you would be successful, is an integral part of your day-to-day working of your business. This may sound like a digression here, but I believe it's relevant. There is a music school in New York City that is specifically for kids who are going to be concert musicians. And the very first day of school, before they've had one single lesson in any of their music, all the children come, all the parents come, they fill the audience with all the parents, and one at a time, each child walks onto the stage, and the crowd cheers.
That's great.
Before they've ever even played one note, they have the experience of success. They feel what it feels to have the applause of the audience. And that sets the tone for their education. They felt that success. This business that you are in must be the same. So think about this. Even when you're interviewing, you're talking to someone about the business, we always want to start that seed, that feeling of success. Now we know confidence comes from experience plus success, so they may not feel confident. You may not feel confident until it's actually happened. But of course, that's a whole other call. We can talk about how to build confidence. But in this light right now, take a little picture of yourself feeling that enthusiasm, that seed that you had at the very beginning. Because you wouldn't have said yes if you didn't believe you could be successful, right? That'd be goofy. You'd say, oh, I think I'm going to fail, but I'll go ahead and try it. Somewhere we believed we would be successful. Remind yourself of that often. And we'll talk about that more in our recruiting ebook, but that's an important question. And a part of our statement of declaration is we talk to a new prospect to be able to say, you know, when I first looked at the business, I believed I would be successful because. So what about you? What makes you think you'll be successful? Key component to the building of a successful business is the belief that we can be successful. All right, now we have that seed. Let's talk about the opposite. Does anybody when you answered number 2, what were some of the answers you put down? Tell me, what is the opposite? What are your fears? Or do you have any? What's the opposite of that?
Paula, this is Marilyn. And
Hi, Marilyn.
hi. And my fears were, first of all, where do you start? And then will they be impressed with this concept after being in the corporate life, or because this is so different. And so that's my 2 biggest fears. Not really fears, but that's what comes to mind first, I guess.
Okay. So let me make sure I understand. So the first thing, where do you start? That's for you. Like, where would you begin in terms of a recruiting campaign?
Right, yes.
Okay.
I'm getting more of a grip on that now, but all along, that's probably why I kept going back to the product, because there was a talk sheet, or there was a label, or there was something like that, where the actual business thing, it's so different for everybody, in a way. It's the same, and yet everybody has different reasons for getting in.
That's true. I would agree entirely. Everyone has a different emotional trigger that says this is going to meet a need. This is going to do something and fulfill something that I don't have right now. There's absolutely, everyone is going to come to that yes for a different emotional trigger. That's right. And yet we can still be very specific about our language and the way we stimulate that emotional trigger in others. So here's what I find interesting, and I don't know if anyone else heard this. Second question, will they be impressed with this enough after being in the corporate world? Okay, so does anybody hear anything in that sentence that you might, after, if you know me a little bit, what I might say about that? Anything there, any triggers there?
If they're not impressed, go on to the next one.
Well, that's certainly, yep, that may be a good way to go. But I'm going to back up a little further and say, why are you talking to people in the corporate world? Those are job people. And so, real quick, I'm going to give you a little prospect scale. So if we look at the potential, this is not a good, bad, they're a bad person or a good person. This is how likely they are to be successful, how likely they are to do something with any speed. All right, 1 to 3. But this is really important. So a 1 to 3, those are employees. So a 1 is kind of a lousy employee. They're late for work, they can't keep a job. A 3 is the president of the bank. But they're still a 1 to 3. They're employee types. They want to pay vacations. They want benefits. They need somebody to tell them what to do on Monday morning. Now, again, this is not bad. I'm not saying that if you're a 1 to 3, you can't make it. But I am going to suggest that a 1 to 3 is going to need more training. They're going to need more resources. They're not going to get started as quickly because they simply don't know how. Then we have our 4 to 6s. 4 to 6s are people who are entrepreneurial. So a 4 is maybe, the person that has not been successful with their landscaping business or their home project or whatever, real estate, anything where they've earned a commission or been on their own. 4s are not so successful. 6s are Bill Gates. Entrepreneurial people who've been very successful. They understand what it takes to make it in a business of their own. They know they're going to pay for their own pencils. They know that they're not going to get paid when they take a vacation. They understand the value and importance. They want independent income. Now they're going to go a little faster. They're going to come to the table with greater comprehensive resources and sometimes more willing and interested in investing. They'll understand it takes money to make money. But when you talk about investing, they're not going to get squirrely because they think, well, that's reasonable. I've always had to invest. And then you have your 7 to 10. 7 to 10 are your networkers, people who have experience in network marketing. 7s are the people that have tried it and never made it. The 10s are the top of the heap. Now, when you think about it, if you're talking to somebody, what's one of the first things you want to know?
If they made it or not.
Where are they on that prospect scale?
Yes.
Right? So,
Right.
Question number 1, do you have any experience in having a business of your own, or have you ever done any network marketing? First question out of your mouth. Because if they say no, that doesn't mean you dump them out, but it means that you're more intelligent about their potential. We're not going to have unrealistic expectations. We can't drag a 1 into an entrepreneurial vision and say, I don't understand why this person doesn't see the value. It's not in their gene pool. It's okay. Leave them the way they are. When you're talking to someone who has experience in these things, you have, just think of all the people that you know who've been successful. I can tell you story after story after story of a person that gets up in front of the room and they're brand new and they stand up and say, oh, I've been in the business 3 weeks and now I have a Maserati. And you think, wow, how did they do it? Well, because they have 20 years of network marketing experience, and when they signed up with your company, they brought their whole entire organization and sphere of influence with them. I know 100 stories like that. I mean, when you see someone in the front of the room that says, oh, I made it to the top in 5 minutes, I'll bet you $1 every single time those people come to the table as 7 to 10. Then I had an experience of doing a business after I built my organization and had an opportunity at the time to look into another company. Shoot, I made $17,000 in 1 week. And that's not, that's not reflecting pool money, but that's pretty good for a week's work. But why? How did I do that? Well, because I had a whole organization. I just called everybody I knew that was a networker and said, here, plunk in your $500. Oh, okay. They did it. Friday, I made $17,000. And it wasn't because I was a rocket scientist. It's because I had an existing organization of networkers that I brought with me. And when you see people in front of the room who say, oh, I did this quickly, 9 times out of 10, they have existing experience and bring with them a sphere of influence of people who are networkers. So my first advice in looking at a recruiting model, look for the 7 to 10. I promise you hit one good 7 or 8 or 9, they bring their whole organization, you retire. You don't have to train anybody. You don't have to drag anybody. You don't have to do any of this other silly stuff because they come ready to go. Now, that's not always possible, and yet that's going to be your first thing. You are building a team of people in network marketing. You are looking for people who are looking for the right fit. The company, the product, the pay plan, the people that fit what they're looking for. And they're looking, believe me, the networkers are always looking. So they're looking for you. You've got to be where they can find you. So that's one of the first things. And again, Marilyn, I think for you and many others, if you think about it like this, that takes some of the heat off. Because we're not trying to change someone else. We're not trying to turn somebody who isn't something into this that we imagine them to be. Entrepreneurial people come this way. Now, some of us may have been in a job for a while because that was our life path and where we found ourselves, and then yet we know we have this entrepreneurial spirit. There's something in us that's got to get out. We're looking for that chance to build something of our own. So again, if somebody says, no, I don't have any experience, and no, I've never done anything like this before, however, I've always wanted to. I've always dreamed of it. No, my family's always been entrepreneurial. Then that qualifies because they've got that spirit. But that would be my first thing for building your confidence is understanding and knowing that those right ones, they already have it. We're not trying to change them. We're looking for those people who are looking for you.
That makes great sense, Paula. Thank you.
Absolutely. Any questions or comments? Anything else about that? All right. So anybody else have any other fears when we talk about, because we're going to address the where do you get started here in our library in a second, but I want to be sure does anyone else have any other fears that you want to make sure we address as we're looking into working in a recruiting model?
Paula, this is Mary.
Hey, Mary.
My fear is I am not schooled or understand or paid attention to and all of that about the sales plan and how you really make money, and that just, I go blank when I think about that.
Okay. And so you're feeling that your inability to really tell someone about the sales plan, that becomes a snag that says, well, I just am not comfortable in any part of the recruiting dance because what if they ask me, how do you make the money?
Yeah, until I study it and really get it, I guess. Maybe that's my what I need to do.
Well, that's a thought, and here's another thought. The compensation plan in and of itself is a moving target. So it's not really something you need to learn, because believe me, if you learn it today, they'll change it tomorrow. If you've been in the business for very long, you know that's true. They changed the compensation plan many times. As I've watched the company grow over the years, I don't even know how many times they've changed the compensation plan. So it's not this tricky little thing that you've got to learn the math and be able to explain it in such a way that someone else understands and gets it, because, again, it's a moving target. So that's number one. I'm going to say you don't need to know it. So then how do you answer the question? Number two, how do we talk about the money? We do need to be able to address the money, and especially when we go back to, remember our first part of our conversation about triggering that enthusiasm and making it believable? What makes you think you'll be successful? Well, part of what makes it believable is someone understanding how they're going to make the money. So I'm contradicting myself. You got to know how to make the money. However, you don't need to know the specifics of 5% and 2% and 3 removed, and if you stand on your head and jump on one foot, then you get this and for infinity. That part of it, that happens once you're building and engaged. I used to tell people that you really don't need to understand the compensation plan until you start getting checks. Once you are signed up, you're engaged, you start making money, then we can look at how to strategize month to month to max out the compensation plan. Because we do want to be strategic in maxing out the compensation plan. However, at the very beginning, all you need to know is the 22 circles. Now, that is in the library. The 22 circles is maxing out your compensation plan as it is right now. This little picture right here gets you all of your bonuses, the car allowance, the trips, and I believe it generates your base income of at least $5,000 a month. And with all the bonuses, it could be more than that. You double this, and it's equal to a master coordinator position. There is a call in the library that is specific on how to do the math. In fact, there are 2 of them. I would recommend that you go in, Mary, listen specifically to entrepreneurial thinking. Yep. Go in there. Go specifically. See the bottom? Mm-hmm. Presenting the compensation plan, Math Class Part 1, Math Class Part 2, and the 22 circles.
I never noticed that. Thank you.
That's how you learn how to talk about the compensation plan so that it's believable. So that's one of those things that, again, you can study from the corporate paperwork all day long. And frankly, most of the stuff I see from the corporate paperwork would require a master's degree in some sort of math science to understand. And that's great. It's not necessary for the recruiting conversation.
I am so glad I asked you this. Thank you.
Yeah, that's why I say ask questions. This is a good time to get those fears checked off the list. They'll need to know it. If you would please go to our classes here on the left-hand side. Once you get into the library, we're going to go to classes, and you'll see at the top the recruiting section. There are 4 components to the class: building, the interview, the decision, and cultivation. And what you see in this section is 4 entire class series. And again, as the library grows, there may be more. Now, just so you know, each one of these class series was $250. So you've got $1,000 worth of classes right here. For your $65 a month or whatever you've paid for your subscription, right here in this recruiting area, there's your $1,000 right there. That's a pretty good trade. So the first thing you want to do is download the ebook. The ebook is going to give you a lot. It walks through each of these sections of the class, and most importantly, helps you with setting up your statement of declaration, which is the beginning of the dance. So, Marilyn, you say, where do I start? You start right here with your recruiting ebook. And you start doing the things it tells you to do. So we're going to start by creating our statement of declaration. So my business name represents who I am because we all should be able to say that, awake, asleep, drunk, or sober. Why does your business name represent who you are? That's the piece where we begin to set the vision for the person in the conversation. So if we're having a recruiting conversation and I can say, you know, my business name represents who I am because. So if you were going to do a business of your own, what do you think would kind of be the reason why, and what would be a fun name for you? Help them begin to imagine their own identity as a business owner. So here's a change of thinking. How many of you, when you go into a recruiting conversation, believe that your number one objective is to sell the person on how fantastic Shackley is? Oh, come on. Be honest.
It's a common tendency.
I would say, you know, the honest truth is, whatever your company is, whatever your products are, most folks are going to believe they go into a recruiting conversation presenting the company, presenting the products. You've got your DVD on the company that makes the difference, the fantastic piece of our company that's the reason why we're so fantastic. And we start with selling the company and selling the products. I'm going to detour and say that may never happen. I recruited lots of people that they didn't even know the name of the company. They signed up because they wanted to work with me, because they wanted to have a business of their own, because they believed that what I was telling them was possible for them. So we're going to start with that seed. Do they have experience in a business of their own, doing network marketing? Do they have that entrepreneurial spirit? And you take that little seed of enthusiasm, and through the whole process of building and developing, your job is helping them believe that it is possible for them to be successful. Now, your recruiting series is going to talk about that, and your recipe for conversation is also going to help you in that conversation. So be sure that and of course your 5 Steps book, so be sure you're looking for that recruiting conversation in all of those tools. All right, so as you go through this setting your point of attraction, looking at your ebook, that's going to give you that foundation that you'll build on. The other piece, and Marilyn, this goes back to where do I get started? When you're thinking about a building and developing strategy, marketing strategy for your business, focused on recruiting, the first thing, obviously, we need to do is look at our resources. You have to determine if this is a short-term, immediate project where you're going to put in a lot of focus and a lot of resources and a lot of energy, and you're going to build as quickly as you can in a specific area, or is this a long-term project where you're going to be maybe find 5 or 6 different geographic locations, and you're going to build there for an ongoing basis? I suggest you get out a map and you pinpoint areas where you want to build, places where your family like to go, where your family is, where you want to visit, or your friends, or some place you've always wanted to have a vacation house or something, whatever, where the next convention is going to be. any place outside of your own immediate community, you can build and develop anywhere. And with technology anymore, it's the same. I didn't really want to build a business in my immediate environment. I wanted my business to be all over. So I targeted very specific cities when I first got started. The very first day that I started running ads, I ran ads in 7 or 8 cities around the country. That was my very first thing that I did, because I wanted to stimulate activity around different places. I wasn't just going to work in my backyard with my friends, family, neighbors. I wanted a bigger business. So what were the results? In 6 months, I had a business in 27 states. So think about your business from the standpoint of resources. How much can you commit? How much time, how much money, how much energy can you put into this? How long are you going to do it? Is it short-term, immediate? Is it a long-term project? Where are you going to do it? Where do you want to build? Start thinking big picture. Because remember, it doesn't take that many. You get 1 or 2 people in a couple of different places that want to do what you do, you can begin experiencing the exponential value of a team in very short order. And here's what I mean by that. Let's say you're going to do 500 postcards a week and you're going to run ads in 3 cities. Okay? That's modest. Now you get 3 people to do it with you. Now you're doing 1,500 postcards a week, or I guess 2,000 if you do plus them, and you have ads now running in 12 cities. And you get 10 people to do it. Now you have 5,000 postcards a week, and you have ads running in 30 cities. The exponential factor here can happen very quickly. So again, part of our recruiting conversation, and again in our statement of declaration, is being able to cast this vision in the interview. So here's my plan. Here's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing these different activities for reaching out. I'm going to be running ads. I'm going to be doing phone calls. I'm going to be doing social media. I'm going to be doing direct mail. I'm going to be doing all these different activities. I'm specifically looking for people who want to do it with me. So if you decide this is a fit for you, we're going to incorporate you into what I'm doing. So we'll be doing it together. So I want you to start thinking about the kinds of activities you want to do. I want you to start thinking about the cities you want to build in, the areas where you would like to have a business. Let's strategize geographically about the different ways we can work together. And then as soon as you're ready, we'll get you involved. You can be a part of what I'm doing. And then we'll do the same for your people. As soon as you've got somebody who wants to play, we'll get them involved in what I'm doing. We work together. That's how it goes. We work as a team. When we look, and again, back to your recruiting ebook and the coordinating call that you're going to see, when you see that activity in front of you, start with your resources, then make sure you've gone through your recruiting ebook and you've done the exercises, and you'll see it's very easy. You'll go to class 1 and you can do the exercises and then go listen to 1 or 2 or 3 of class 1. Each class is different because we're different people with different levels of interaction. So you're going to get a different class every time. And then go to the next step. And then go listen to class number 2. idea is that you reinforce your confidence. And I believe that even if you didn't speak up and give me your fears or the obstacles that someone else has faced in getting started or the reason why they didn't make it, I'll tell you, I believe you will find the answers to those fears and to those obstacles in this resource that you have in this library. Between the specifics of the recruiting, the basics of our 5 steps, and that skill set that you can develop through the recipe for conversation and the different classes that you find in this library, you will get the answers. So that's the part that I get excited, is knowing that we now have these resources available for you. So you can take advantage. Like I said, right here, just in this one section, this one very simple section of the recruiting, you have over $1,000 worth of training calls right here. And just multiply that times all the calls that are in the library and all the classes that have been available. It's a great value. And so if you haven't, or you know somebody that would benefit, you can always go to the ParagonLivingInstitute.com. And very soon this week we're going to have a subscribe button right on our freetrainingcalls.com, our ParagonPodcast.com page, where people can subscribe right there. Make it very easy. That's coming this week. So, again, take advantage of the resource. And I do appreciate you sharing this information. If you see something on Facebook or you go to our YouTube, please share it. That's what helps get the word out. And we know that a lot of folks are in the same situation that you're in.
Another good call. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.